Hey, good morning, guys. It's Jen Selverian at Nadexa Group, where we partner with leading advertising agencies to deliver top talent. Today, I want to talk about the importance of showing up and being vulnerable. I had the opportunity recently to listen to two talks from Brene Brown and Howard Schultz on these same topics. And why don't we start by defining what is meant by showing up. Showing up is just what it sounds like, going to an event, leaning in Sheryl Sandberg's terms, allowing yourself to be seen, taking that hard step, doing something that's outside of your comfort zone. And being vulnerable is risking failure, putting yourself out there and facing possible rejection. So Brene Brown is a leading researcher in what makes people brave. She's studied this for the last 16 years. She's written 4 bestsellers, and she was a keynote speaker at LinkedIn's Talent Connect conference. So this talk is from October 4th. And she is speaking about her first TED Talk, which now has over 30 million downloads. But when she first delivered it, the very first comments to roll in were from the haters, of course. And they just ripped her apart and had brutal criticism. And it led her to curl up on the couch and eat a jar of peanut butter, like any self-respecting person would do. But eventually she found her way to a quote by Theodore Roosevelt that said, "It's not the critics that count." And Brene's interpretation of this was, hey, listen, if you're not down in the arena getting your ass kicked, then I am not interested in your feedback on my work. How liberating is this? If you are not down in the arena getting your ass kicked, then I am not interested in your feedback on my work. It is permission as a gladiator to ignore the critics. So that's number one. And now let me tell you about the second talk, Howard Schultz, chairman of Starbucks. I told this to my 10-year-old daughter, and she liked it so much that she retold it on the playground to her friends. So I hope you guys will like it too. Howard Schultz, as you may or may not know, was a Xerox salesman at the very beginning of his career. And one of his business trips took him to Seattle, where there was this little coffee shop in 1981 called Starbucks, and they only sold coffee beans. And Howard was so taken with the founders and their knowledge of coffee that he requested to work there. It was probably a minimum wage job. In any case, he got started there. He went to Milan, which is where he saw the coffee cafes that gave him the idea to serve coffee in the Starbucks when he returned to Seattle. And that's the way it was built. They started serving coffee at a little bar in the back of the coffee bean shop. And flash forward 6 years later, the founders want to get out of Starbucks, and they offer to sell to Howard Schultz. And the proposal is that he's got a 90-day exclusive to buy Starbucks for $3.8 million. So he's running around raising funds, and at about day 60, the owners come back and they say, sorry, I know, we gave you a 90-day exclusive on this, but we've got another buyer that's willing to pay $4 million in cash. And Howard just felt like he got punched in the gut. And to add insult to injury, the buyer was one of his previous investors. So this was a friend of his, somebody new that was prepared to just steal his dream right out from under him. So let's talk about the importance of showing up. I'm pretty sure Howard felt pretty bad that day, but he went and played a game of basketball with his friend who was an attorney who said that they should both go down to the law office tomorrow and speak to the partner about this and see what could be done. Well, the partner ended up being Bill Gates Sr. Isn't that great? And Howard Schultz tells Bill the entire story, and they decide that they're going to confront the other buyer, the investor. And so they march into his office, and Bill Gates Sr. said, listen, you and I both know this is not going to happen. Howard deserves to buy this. This has been his dream. He spent the last 6 years building this, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And with that, the other investor stepped down, and Howard Schultz was able to acquire Starbucks. Now, if he hadn't gone to that basketball game and put it on the line and been vulnerable and told his story, then who knows what might have happened? He might have lost Starbucks to the other investor. So those two stories, how they're interconnected, is really if you're out there as a gladiator and you're doing the hard stuff that's outside of your comfort zone, that's how you achieve things of consequence. And for sure, there are going to be people that say, you can't do it, and worse. But they don't have permission to comment on the work they're doing because they're not brave enough to do it on their own. That's all I have for you today. Thanks.